for over a year almost.
It's been over a year.
Been over a year. We talk about sports. It's kind of a sports comedy show. We're just going to do a brief introduction of everybody that is involved here. So my name is Kellen Hansen. I go by the Crimson Comet. Just kidding. That was my high school name. I'm just Kellen or K-Dog. This is Brady.
Yeah, my name's Brady. I go by Lazy Snake. Don't ask why.
Don't ask why.
And I'm Michael Moyes, and recently everyone started calling me Prison Mike, so that's what I'll be going by.
And then obviously we got joining us in Afton, Wyoming. What's your name?
Me.
Yeah.
No, what's your
I'm
name?
Jason. I'm Jason Call.
Nickname.
I'm not the star of this show, but I'm just an Afton, so I'm the only one on my camera.
We call him the Bearded Wonder. Anyways, it was a little bit about us. We're all from Wyoming. Prison Mike comes from the lovely town of Cokeville. Sorry.
Town.
The big city, the metropolis of Cokeville. Population 200.
It's a little more than that.
I don't think so.
The rest of us are from Star Valley. Anyway, we're just going to be talking about sports, give some of our opinions, talk about what we think is going to go on within the realm of athletics. And this first show is definitely going to be a little bit rough. We're more used to a radio setting where we can hide behind the car radios and no one has to see our face. But we're really excited to be here. Usually we have music that goes with it. We'll figure out the licensing so that we can get it. And as the show progresses, hopefully we'll be able to put on a better show. But today we want to talk about, first of all, some of our winners in sports. We do a winner of the week and a loser of the week. And a lot of times we'll do with one specific sport. But now that we have so many sports going on, we're just going to do a winner and a loser of the week. So you guys can pick an athlete that you think competed at an extra high level. Explain why. You can use statistics as a reference. And then we're obviously going to do a loser of the week, an athlete that we think that did not compete at a high level and someone that we think that could improve within their craft. Jason, how about you go first? How about you start us off for your winner of the week?
Okay, so my winner of the week, I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes is my winner of the week. He put a lot of doubts to bed about how he's going to play after his injuries. He looked sharp. He looked just as good as he was before. Really excited to see how he does in the Super Bowl. And, yeah.
So I'm actually going to go with my winner of the week. I'm going to go with MMA fighter Dustin Poirier. Obviously, we're going to talk more about Dustin Poirier and his fight with Conor McGregor. He went into that match an underdog. Last time he fought Conor McGregor, he was knocked out within the first 2 minutes of the first round. Obviously, he's had a huge, break. He's improved greatly in the last several years since that fight. I believe
It's been 6 years, hasn't it? 6 years.
Yeah, been 6 years. Since 2014, I think, was when they fought.
Good man.
And Conor McGregor, he absolutely was dominant for a long time. And I still think he has the ability to be a high-level fighter, but we'll get into that later. I just think Dustin Poirier going into that fight, being so focused, putting on such a performance, that's the best he's ever looked, in my opinion. So he gets my performance of the night, or my winner of the week. Brady, why don't you go next?
All right. I'm going to go with the guy that it seems like we never stop praising on this show, with LeBron James. And I'm going to go with LeBron because he went back to Cleveland for the first time in a couple of years, and he put on a show. I know people might say the Cavs aren't very good, so it's easy to do that being against Cleveland, but LeBron ended up putting up 46 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists, and he ended up putting up 21 points in the fourth quarter. He had there was a Cavs executive who ended up cheering really loud when LeBron missed the last shot at the end of the quarter, and LeBron took that really personally and then dropped 21 on him. So,
LeBron.
That's a good winner of the week. My winner for this week, I'm a big basketball fan, so a lot of my winners are going to be coming out of the NBA because that's what I pay a little bit more attention to. But I'm going to go with John Wall for the Houston Rockets.
I like it.
Last night they played the Wizards, and so this was his first time playing the team he was on recently, and he scored 24 points and played really good, and they got the win over the Wizards. And it's just good to see John Wall come back from an injury. He's had a pretty injury-plagued career, and so I'm really hoping that he can perform well and continue to perform how he did last night.
Yeah, I loved it watching him and Russell Westbrook go back and forth because Russell Westbrook's been so terrible. And John Wall's kind of been playing I like that pick. All right, Jason, who's your loser of the week?
So I've got a couple that I've been thinking about. I think it's Aaron Rodgers, but more of the Green Bay Packers. That loss kind of took Aaron Rodgers out of the MVP conversation for me.
What?
He didn't play terrible.
He played really well.
But I think after losing to the Bucs the way they did, and the Bucs just looked like a better team. They did. Brady threw 3 picks in that game, and the Bucs still won.
Rodgers is your loser of the week then.
Yeah, just because I don't know. I don't know how anybody could vote for Aaron Rodgers over Patrick Mahomes in the MVP right now.
I do. But
We'll
talk about this later. But I strongly disagree with you right there, babe.
You can't disagree that didn't hurt his stock though.
I can, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
My loser of the week is actually a Green Bay Packer from the NFL. This is a guy who I thought going into this matchup against the Buccaneers was going to have an opportunity to really shine. I mean, this is a guy who he's an all-pro he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. He's been absolutely phenomenal for the Green Bay Packers the last several seasons, and he's a guy who they really needed to win this game, or who they needed to play well if they wanted to win this game. That's Aaron Jones, running back Aaron Jones. And granted, Aaron Jones didn't get a ton of opportunities in this game. It seems like they were using other weapons. I don't blame, the Packers for not using Devontae Adams. I think they had him pretty well covered up. But Aaron Jones had 6 carries for only 27 yards. And then obviously he had 4 receptions for only 7 yards. The biggest thing was he had 2 fumbles. They lost that fumble, I believe it was in the 3rd quarter. And his fumbling and his turnovers, honestly, that was what gave Tampa Bay the win. It's not always, if you look at a football game, especially a close football game like the Buccaneers and the Packers, where it's 31-26, it's 1 possession. A game like that, what it comes down to is usually 2 or 3 plays. And obviously they recovered one of the fumbles, but it was that second fumble that the Buccaneers recovered and were able to take within their own 10-yard line. That is ultimately what decided the game. And I think that after that point, Matt LaFleur lost confidence in Aaron Jones. And I honestly think it's that play that was the turning point in the game. Even though they were able to rally, it seemed like that got them in a big enough of a hole that they weren't able to recover from it. So Aaron Jones is my loser of the week.
You just completely stole mine. I feel like Aaron Jones is definitely the biggest loser of the week, hands down. But I'm going to go with Conor McGregor. You put Dustin Poirier as your winner of the week. I'm going to put Conor McGregor as my loser of the week. They kind of go hand in hand there. Mm-hmm. I feel like anytime Conor McGregor loses a fight, he's the loser of everything because he talked so much smack before the fight. Against Poirier, he said he was going to knock him out in the first 60 seconds or 90 seconds, something like that, which that didn't happen.
First 60 seconds.
First minute, he said he was going to knock him out. Didn't do that, and Poirier was able to knock McGregor out. So McGregor is the loser of the week. After all that smack talk he talked, he didn't fight up to it. So loser.
All right, Prison Mike.
Good pick. All right. I'm also going to stick with basketball, and I'm going to go from the NBA to college basketball. My loser of the week is the Kentucky Wildcats.
I love how Mike just brings it back to basketball, man. What a guy.
That's his thing.
That's because that's what I watch. But the Kentucky...
You watch the fight.
They let Prison Mike watch the NBA games from his prison cell, so
pretty much.
He's not actually a convict. He's an upstanding citizen.
Yes.
He is.
But as I was saying, the Kentucky Wildcats, they lost last night to Alabama. Granted, Alabama was ranked number 9 in the nation, but
I love me some Alabama basketball.
they lost
Said no one
70 to 59. And the Wildcats are now 5-10. They had the number 1 recruiting draft class coming in this year. Like they had the number ranked class coming into this year with freshmen, and they've just been awful. And I don't think they have very good chances of making the tournament this year in March either. So that's my loser for the week. The Wildcats have looked terrible.
Can I just say, I think it's really funny because we kind of on our radio show, we were a little harsh against Mike Krzyzewski, Duke's head coach, because he was after like the first like couple weeks of basketball, Duke wasn't doing well, and he was like, I think we should cancel the whole season. I just don't know if we should be playing. And then Alabama's head coach comes like, I just keep saying that because they done lost their last 4 games, and they ain't going to be ranked in top 25. And Bama. And now Duke's not even ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, how do you feel about
Alabama's
that?
in the top 10. I just want to throw Mike under the bus because he's a little bit of a Duke fan. And I want to just put all Alabama basketball fans, all like 10 of them. I just want
I was
to put a pedestal right now.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, roll.
if
Duke
if
had-
Kentucky's your loser of the week, then what is Duke? Because they're worse.
They're 6-5.
They're a-
They're over 500. Coach K can go to bed knowing that his team's mediocre. I love it. We're actually going to jump now into the NFL. So we've gotten through winners and losers of the week. We're going to do some of our conference champion thoughts. First, we're going to talk AFC. Then we'll shift back to NFC. Talk about Brady Rodgers. But first, I think it's really important that we talk about that AFC championship game between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know that if there's anybody from Wyoming that are going to be watching, they may not like me for some of the things I'm going to say. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. First of all, how you thought the result was. Obviously, we know Patrick Mahomes played at a very high level. Jason, what are your initial thoughts when you ponder upon the AFC championship game?
It didn't surprise me at all. That's what I was kind of expecting to see, and it happened. It didn't surprise me at all. I think as a Bills fan, they should. If I was a Bills fan, I'd be very happy with this season. When's the last time they've had any kind of season like this? And the future is high. I mean, Josh Allen has a lot of growing to do still. I'm not going to go out and say he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, but he has potential. He does. So it didn't surprise me at all. Chiefs did what they were supposed to do. I'm really excited for the Super Bowl, guys. It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Brady, what are your thoughts?
No, I think that Jason hit it right on the head. It didn't surprise me. I'm a Wyoming fan, unlike some people here, so I was really cheering for the Bills and Josh Allen. I was fully on the Josh Allen hype train, but at the same time, I think I always knew in the back of my head that the Chiefs were too good. That offense, there's no one can beat them. They're gonna make the Buccaneers look the exact same as they made the Bills look. Mark my words, in the Super Bowl. So that Chiefs team is just way too good.
Prison Mike, I want to hear your thoughts.
I pretty much agree with what Jason said. The Bills fans should be really happy with what they have. They have a good young quarterback. Just looking at some stats, I mean, Josh Allen played pretty good in the game. Just the Chiefs are unreal. They have an amazing defense and an even more amazing offense. So it wasn't really surprised that they lost, but the Bills fans should be really happy with what they accomplished this year.
I mean, obviously the Bills haven't been at this level since 1993. I wasn't even alive. The only one here that was alive at the time was Jason, back when they were going to the Super Bowl and choking every year.
The curse.
First of all, I really like Buffalo. I really like the Buffalo fans. I think they're a fun team to watch. And I think Josh Allen really has surprised a lot of people. I talked about it last year, even on the show, about how Josh Allen, if he really wanted to get to that next level, to be an elite quarterback, he needed to improve on his accuracy. He needed to improve on his long ball. He needed to throw a lot more touchdowns. Threw over 40 touchdowns this season. He threw 20 last year. He threw 40 in the regular season this season, which was absolutely incredible. But Patrick Mahomes is on a completely other level. And I honestly think one thing that I think within the world of media, sports media, people need to stop saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't the best quarterback. People need to stop comparing people to Patrick Mahomes because he's just that much better than everybody. He's the most talented quarterback that I think the NFL has ever seen. He's more talented than Tom Brady. He's more talented than Aaron Rodgers, more talented than Drew Brees, more talented than Peyton Manning. I mean, there's a whole list. He's the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. His mechanics, the tools that he brings to the table. I'm not saying he's the greatest, but he's on pace. No one in the NFL right now is even close to him. And so when I saw people, and granted, there's a lot of Wyoming fans saying, well, you know, Josh Allen is in the same stratosphere and he's right up there with Mahomes. Look, watching that game, you could tell a difference. You know, Josh Allen at times got frustrated and he made some decisions that were questionable. He's a young quarterback, around the same age as Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes is just that much better than he is.
But I do want to bring up a point. How much better would Josh Allen be if he had the Chiefs offense? Like if he had
That's a good point.
That's
Tyreek
true.
Hill,
They're completely
Kelly,
loaded.
isn't his name Kelly?
No, that's true.
Kelsey. Like they have some amazing players on their team, and I agree that Patrick Mahomes is really good. But if Josh Allen had that same offense, I feel like that would put him on another level as well.
You know what, though? I'm not sure. I mean, he does have a lot of weapons. Cole Beasley is a great player. And then obviously Brady's got a soft spot for a certain player, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs had a phenomenal season. I would even say Stephon Diggs is a top 5, maybe the top 3 receiver in the NFL right now. He was absolutely phenomenal this season. He has weapons on offense. There's some good guys, but I think you do make a fair point. But the fact of the matter is Patrick Mahomes is unreal. Just the things that he's able to do, and I think everybody knew that. I just think that he kind of showed everybody that he really is in a league of his own. This is Patrick Mahomes' league. He is the face of the NFL. I will say this. I thought that the Chiefs' defense stepped up, especially that secondary. That secondary kept Josh Allen from really punishing them downfield. And then pass rush. I mean, they were able to get Josh Allen flustered. He was sacked several times. He wasn't able to do what he normally does. And if you don't give Josh Allen time, you will see a lot of those young rookie, well, not rookie, but those younger mistakes that happen when a quarterback doesn't have a ton of experience.
That's fair.
The impressive thing there, though, Kellen, is that pass rush. They were getting to Josh Allen sometimes on a 4-man rush, and it was their coverage. They were getting a few coverage sacks. That secondary just – I wouldn't even say that the Chiefs are an elite secondary in the league, but after that game, they stepped up hardcore. I'm excited to see if they can have a repeat performance or if that was just kind of a one game thing.
Oh, exactly. Well, and obviously, everybody wants to talk about the Chiefs' offense because the Chiefs' offense is so dynamic. I mean, fastest player in the NFL.
Maybe the first and second fastest with Mecole
Hardman. And first of all, I think Mecole Hardman, him stepping up after he muffed that, they were down 9-0. I mean, the Buffalo Bills looked really good to start that game. But it's kind of Patrick Mahomes. Well, it's kind of the Chiefs thing. Come back. When they come back and they get better as the game progresses. But they have the best tight end in the NFL, one of the best tight ends that we've ever seen. They have really good running game. 2 really good running backs. They weren't really able to showcase that as much this last week. Le'Veon Bell should be healthy for the Super Bowl. But I'm telling you what, the fact that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they both were able to play at that high of a level. I mean, Hill had 172 yards on 9 receptions. Then Kelce, 13 receptions. I think it was 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's going to be tough to slow down. But like I said, I think the defense, that secondary really needs to be talked about. Josh Allen only threw 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. A lot of those sacks were coverage sacks too, just because he wasn't able to find guys downfield.
How many catches did Diggs have that game? It didn't seem like he got the ball hardly at all.
He only ended up with 6.
He had 6 catches for 77 yards. It seemed like what they did is they limited the big plays. And that was what's important. When you have a guy like Josh Allen who has an absolute cannon, you have to limit those big plays downfield. It seems like the Chiefs were able to do that. It seems like they were flying around. And obviously everyone knows how good Tyrann Mathieu is. But there's other guys in that secondary that do a really good job. And so I'm really excited to see what the Chiefs bring to this next matchup. We're going to talk NFC now because I think that's the game that everybody really wants to dive into. And then obviously there's some stuff that happened afterwards that we'll discuss next. So the Buccaneers-Packers game, this was a very interesting game. Going into this, you have Tom Brady, who a lot of people consider the GOAT. You have Aaron Rodgers, who a lot of people are saying is the MVP. In my opinion, he is the MVP of the NFL. Brady doesn't like it. Brady is a diehard Packers fan.
I'm gonna leave.
Brady is a big Vikings fan. Anyways, this was a really intriguing matchup, kind of a legacy game for both these quarterbacks. Brady, what are your thoughts? We'll start off with you.
On that game?
Yes.
So, first off, I have to say that if you are denying that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time right now, you're completely wrong. So, he proved it there. He made it to the Super Bowl. Now, has been to the Super Bowl double as many times as any quarterback in the NFL. So like 10, completely incredible. It was a really good game, back and forth. Kind of became an ugly game at times. Lots of picks being thrown. But in the end, I think it was just Brady's greatness. He threw 3 picks, which is true, but he was able to go on top like he pretty much always does. And the Packers lost, so it made me happy.
Yeah.
I think a big part of the game was that I'm also excited to see the matchup in the Super Bowl. Was I felt like the Buccaneers defensive line got a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how many times he got sacked.
5 times. He sacked 5 times.
He got sacked 5 times, and it seemed like he never had a whole lot of time to throw the ball. Like they were always getting into him really fast. And so I'm interested to see how the Buccaneers defensive line does against the Chiefs. But I thought that was a big part of the win, how good the defense played against Aaron Rodgers.
And Prison Mike, I wouldn't say that's a big part. I would say that is the part of the reason the Bucs won. You know what? Brady's great. He's the GOAT. Brady's not the reason they won that game.
It's nice to
He's
hear
not.
you say that, Jason.
I was kind of seeing
Okay.
what you say when I said delusional.
Okay, yes, he's the best. But Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl, he didn't win that Super Bowl. The Broncos defense won that Super Bowl. And if they win the Super Bowl this year, it's not going to be because of Brady. It's going to be because of that defense that they put together. It's impressive.
That's a fair point.
Okay. So, I will get back to that because I agree with that. Obviously, the Buccaneers defense was phenomenal. They are the reason they won this game. But let's not forget the fact that Tom Brady threw over 40 touchdowns, and he was in the top 3 in passing yards. I think he was second in the NFL in passing yards.
But Kellen, hold on. Who did you say the best quarterback in the league was right now?
I'm not saying that Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the league right
now. Okay. So if the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, then it's going to have to be because of the defense, because the other team's got the best quarterback.
That's true. But let's remember something. Tom Brady had a phenomenal season this year. And at times, he's looked as good as he ever has. He's 43 years old. I mean, the debate for who's the GOAT or not, that was over a long time ago, in my opinion. I think right now he's just showing how elite he is. And I think that, that's credit to a lot of, trainers. I think he has a great athletic staff that helps him stay in good shape. Dietitians. Tom Brady's body of work is absolutely incredible. I think that it's really, really important for us to remember, though. Tom Brady made some plays in this game and had some moments in this game that were absolutely phenomenal. That touchdown that he threw with 8 seconds left in the half, that was an elite play. And granted, the coverage on that was spotty, but the fact that he decided, hey, let's get this offense back onto the field on 4th down. Let's try to make another play. That one shows his leadership and his intelligence, and then he made a perfect pass. That is what GOATs do. So I'm telling you, if the Buccaneers win this Super Bowl, their defense is going to have to play phenomenal. I'm not going to debate that, but I think that it's important to remember that Tom Brady is still playing at an elite level. Peyton Manning was terrible that last season. He was absolutely awful. I mean, he was throwing ducks in the air. He threw more interceptions that season than he did touchdowns. Tom Brady, to compare Tom Brady at this point and Peyton Manning, it's just not fair because Tom Brady is just that much better than Peyton Manning was at this late stage in his career.
I'll agree with you, Kellen, with the one thing that we're brushing over. He threw 3 interceptions in that game, dude. Okay, the defense bailed him out because it was a one-possession game. If they scored on any of those interceptions that he threw, it would have been a different story. We'd be singing a different song right now.
And how about the Packers kicking a field goal and trying to score?
Oh, that's
so I think that's a big, and that's something we were going to talk about. So obviously it was a 3rd and 8.
Oh yeah, Rodgers totally could have ran that in, by the way.
And obviously looking back on it, I mean, it's hindsight's 2020. I mean, we have to realize some of those defensive backs and safeties, they close so quickly.
They wouldn't have closed with him, though, in that space.
Well, and if you look at some of the interviews that Rodgers has done, that's kind of what he looked at, you know. He lost some of the defense back. We're not on the field. We don't have it at the vantage point. But even then, even if Aaron Rodgers gets to the 2-yard line, the 1 line, or even the 3-yard line, that's still 4th down territory. Rodgers himself said that was 4th down territory. But Matt LaFleur decided to kick a field goal. Was that the right decision? Was it a terrible decision? I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are because, I mean, I think we probably all agree on this. Brady, what are your thoughts?
So I think that it was absolutely the wrong decision there. And I saw a thing which I think is completely accurate where it said that Matt LaFleur completely underestimated Tom Brady as well as Aaron Rodgers when he made that decision. He underestimated Tom Brady because he was going to give the ball back to the greatest quarterback of all time, and all he has to do is pick up a couple of first downs and they win the game.
They just ran the ball.
Hey, Tom Brady haters, I won't stand for it. But Aaron Rodgers, he's, as much as I hate to say it, he is one of the greatest of all time. And I think there's a very good chance he picks up that touchdown when his back's against the wall and when he has to. And realistically, I feel like it's the only chance you're winning the game if you're the Packers, is going for it and tying the game up right there. Because you're not getting the ball back. You're not.
Okay, I'll go next on that because I do think one thing that has to be accounted for is even if you get to the 1-yard line on that run, you know, you're putting your or you don't get it at all. You go for it on 4th down. They're still in like the 8-yard line.
Yeah, you're putting your defense in a really good position.
You're putting your defense in a really good position. I mean, you get a 3 and out there. They kick it. They're at their own 50-yard line. Aaron Rodgers on his own side of the 50 or close to the 50-yard line, that is like the last guy that I want to have an opportunity to win your game there, right? Mm-hmm. So you still put yourself in a really good position. I just think Matt LaFleur, for some reason, overthought it. Why didn't you take, there's 5 or 6 guys you can call a timeout there. I think Aaron Rodgers should have stepped up and been like, no, timeout. Like, give me a chance. This is Aaron freaking Rodgers. I mean, we're talking about he's going to be the NFL MVP, despite what Jason thinks. Jason's wrong. And
I didn't say that he wouldn't win it. I just said I wouldn't vote for him.
Me neither.
Can I put my 2 bits in?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you guys.
What?
Because
he's from Cokeville.
Oh yeah.
If it's a game and they're got a long field, gotta win. You punt that ball.
Hear me out. The Packers were losing by 8, so they would have had to have got the touchdown on 4th and 8, and they also would have had to have got a 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
it's the only way you're winning.
It's Aaron freaking Rodgers.
But if you look at it, they ran a 2-point conversion earlier in the game and they didn't get it. The guy dropped the ball.
That's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
Because it's Aaron.
If I'm
State Farm.
So even if they got it when it was 4th and 8, they still would have had to have completed a 2-point conversion. And I think the coach, I don't know his name, was putting trust in the defense to get a stop.
Okay,
against the greatest quarterback of all time.
I think it was the right choice.
Here's the thing: you put yourself in a position. If you get to 6 points and you're down by 8, you're only down by 2. That's a field goal game. Rather than going 5 where you have to score a touchdown, you have to go the whole field.
But the Bucks would have got the ball back, and they wouldn't have. The Packers would not have
It's
ever
all
touched
about
it.
the confidence that you put in your players in that
I'm
situation.
telling you, it was the right decision.
All I have to say is if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'm thinking about this situation, I'm pissed. Okay. What did the Packers do last offseason? They went and got a quarterback. Okay. The organization right now is not showing any faith in Aaron Rodgers right now.
So, and that's actually, we're going to segment into that. After the game, Aaron Rodgers had an interview with the media. Obviously, the emotions were raw and high because he just lost the game, a whole season of hard work. He doesn't know how much time he has. I mean, he's definitely older. He was pretty emotional, and he said some things that had some people wondering, is Aaron Rodgers wanting out of Green Bay? Is Aaron Rodgers going to leave Green Bay? Should he leave? Is he being underappreciated and undervalued? Are they treating him poorly? And a lot of people were speculating. He himself has said, kind of calmed the rumors a little bit by saying, he doesn't see why he would leave. But he still didn't say he's happy with the situation. He's been kind of vague on a lot of these topics. I want to hear what you guys have to say. We're going to start off with Jason. What are your thoughts about his situation in Green Bay?
My thoughts is if I'm the general manager of the Packers and Aaron Rodgers' contract is coming to a close and he's looking at free agency, I'm sweating a little bit because I don't think Jordan Love is where they need him to be. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm kind of thinking, you know what? I know of at least 3 or 4 or more organizations that'll value what I can do way more than these guys are right now. I mean, look, Drew Brees is retiring. Could you imagine Aaron Rodgers down in New Orleans with Sean Payton? I mean, that's an automatic contender right there.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. Brady, what are your thoughts?
I think that Aaron Rodgers definitely has the right to be ticked off and to explore his options because, like Jason said, I think he's being completely undervalued there in Green Bay. They're not showing him any respect or showing that they have any faith in him with drafting Jordan Love and not giving him the chance to go for it. So as much as I'm trying to decide who I dislike more, the Packers or Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's the whole organization. So I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers leave, and I'll be a fan of you. So I think he'll end up staying in Green Bay. I think they'll work things out. He's going to stay there. But if I'm him, I think I'd be upset too with how they've treated me.
We need to come up with a name for that, by the way, and it has to incorporate Tom Brady, like the Tom Brady effect or something, where we hate a player because of the team they play for.
TB12itis. That's true.
To argue my original point about they made a good decision kicking.
Hey, that's past. That's past.
Mike,
just give me a second.
You stuck on it.
I do want to ask, how many times has Rodgers been to that? I believe the NFC.
This is his 5th appearance.
This was his 5th appearance. How many times has he won?
Once.
So Aaron Rodgers is not clutch in the NFC Championship. And so I think that I'll agree with you guys on the topic we're talking about right now, that as the Packers, they probably should look to trade him. They should be sweating. He probably shouldn't be happy there.
That's not what we said.
What?
Is that not what you guys said?
No. We're not saying the Packers should not trade Aaron Rodgers.
The Packers
They should try to keep him at all costs.
Okay, I'm not agreeing with you guys. He is not clutch. He's not winning. Look at it.
What?
Oh. But at the same time, Mike, he didn't have an opportunity to show it or not. He's the best player in that organization, and they didn't give him a shot.
He may be the best player in that organization
but he's already
ever.
lost 3 times in it.
Yeah, but Mike, let's put this in basketball terms. If you're the Lakers, you're down 3 points, and you need somebody to go shoot a 3-pointer. Are you going to dump it down to your low post and score 2 points? Or are you going to let LeBron shoot the 3-pointer?
You probably let LeBron shoot the 3-pointer.
I don't know.
Okay, so if I'm the Packers, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and that's with Aaron Rodgers. They're paying him, and they're trying to talk him and saying Jordan Love isn't trying to replace him. Prove it. They didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
First of all, I don't think
You're good.
So I'll move on. I'll talk. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to leave the Packers. I really don't. I think people are overreacting. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is a little upset? And do I think he has all the right in the world to be upset? Absolutely. First of all, he's thinking going into the draft, I really want one of these really good receivers, like maybe Justin Jefferson. I don't know, maybe CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Judy. I mean, there's all these good. Michael Pittman was still on the board. There's all these phenomenal receivers. I've never had the Packers draft a first-round receiver since I've been here. Nice. Like that might actually be pretty cool. And instead, they go and draft his replacement. We were talking about a guy who literally had just led his team to an NFC championship the year before. He had a great season. He really hasn't shown any signs that he's slowing down. And basically, they're saying, you know what? Like, we're going to do exactly to you what we did to Brett Favre. The only difference is Jordan Love was not nearly as talented as Aaron Rodgers at that point. And so Aaron Rodgers was ticked off at that. You watch interviews, you see even his nonverbals, you could just tell that he was not very happy with that. He goes out, kind of has his revenge season against the organization, showing him, look, I am this good. I'm an MVP caliber player. Leads him to the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs, leads him to the NFC championship, leads him to the red zone in a position to, tie the game. And basically Matt LaFleur says, you know what, we're just going to kick a field goal. And so Aaron Rodgers, the blatant disrespect that has been shown to Aaron Rodgers by the Packers organization I can see why he is upset. And obviously he's a professional, so he's not going to be super verbal about it with the media and in the public eye. But I can see why he would, think, man, I grew up a 49ers fan. My family's back there. They need a quarterback. I could see why he's looking at LA where he has a home and he's thinking, they're not really happy with Goff. If I decide I want to go there, that's a pretty dang good team. I can see why he'd be thinking that. And I'm telling you right now, I think he'll be back next season. But if I'm the Packers, I'm treading lightly because I know for a fact if Aaron Rodgers decides he wants out of Green Bay, he's going to get out of Green Bay.
And he'll go wherever he wants to go.
Exactly. There's so many teams that would do anything.
With the exclusion of maybe Seattle and Kansas City. He can go wherever the heck he wants to go.
There's teams that probably wouldn't pick him up right now. But right now, the NFL is in a really interesting position where there are some really elite quarterbacks, but there's also a lot of openings at the quarterback position. I think that's why you're going to see so many quarterbacks get drafted this year. We're not going to get into that as much, but I do think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, that's something that needs to be watched closely. We're actually going to jump now into a different situation. I just kind of want to talk about this guy and his legacy. Obviously, he didn't play this last Sunday. He was done the week before. But it looks like Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, sling the pigskin. He is going to be finishing up his time with the New Orleans Saints. I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on his last season, kind of his legacy, and maybe some of the things that you were impressed with, and maybe some things that you weren't so impressed with. We're going to start off with Prison Mike on this segment.
Why me?
Because I want to get pissed off at what you say so I can make this show controversial.
I won't say too much because, to be honest, I didn't really watch much of the Saints this year. But he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, amazing guy. So, his retirement's a big deal, but good for him. He's had a great career. I believe he's still leading the NFL in passing yards. So, an amazing quarterback. He said his time's come. Good for him. And hopefully the Saints organization can pick up where they left off with Jameis Winston. Not kidding, not with Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston, yeah, he'll be the starter, right, Jason?
But
that's what Bree said to him.
All right, Jason, you're next. What are your thoughts?
First off, Drew Brees, nothing to be ashamed of hanging your hat after this season. He went out playing at a pretty high level. Wasn't what he used to be able to do, but he was still playing at a high level. And I think, it was the right call. It's sad, but it was the right call. As far as indecision in New Orleans after he's gone, I'm not going to dwell on that right now. I just want to think about the career that man had, and let it be at that. We can let New Orleans figure their stuff out later. They've got plenty of talent there, but Drew Brees is not somebody that's going to be just replaced. I don't think that type of talent will ever. I mean, he was a one of a kind quarterback, and it's going to be sad to not see him on the field anymore.
Brady, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I'm trying not to repeat everything everyone else said. My thoughts is it was definitely time for him to retire. He definitely is a Hall of Famer, had a great career. He was still playing at a fairly high level when he went out, still better than most of the quarterbacks in the NFL, which I know a lot of people might say his arm strength wasn't there and all that, which is true, but he was still better than, I'd say, 50% of the, probably more than that. Most of the quarterbacks in the NFL, he was still superior to. But I think you could tell by that last game that he quite didn't have it anymore to be an elite quarterback, a quarterback to win. He threw some of those picks were just really bad looking, which it kind of sucks that his career had to go out on an interception like he threw. But at the same time, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best guys as far as off the field that the league has ever seen. And so, yep, we're seeing a legend go.
Mm-hmm. First of all, he hasn't officially retired yet.
He will.
But he probably will. It's speculated that he will. I think that Drew Brees' legacy, he's definitely one of the all-timers, especially at the quarterback position. When you look at his career as a whole, and what he's done for not only the game of football, but even the city of New Orleans. I mean, winning a Super Bowl in a time that was so difficult for that city. It wasn't far removed from the Hurricane Katrina that occurred in New Orleans that devastated so many people. And he was such an ambassador to the city, and just an example of, of perseverance and hard work and determination. I mean, you look at him, he wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the strongest guy, definitely wasn't the most athletic, but he worked his butt off to get to a level that few quarterbacks have ever reached, becoming the NFL's all-time leading passer. He broke the record for most touchdown passes. He has since been surpassed by Tom Brady, but he's right up there statistically with the greatest of them. He had that one Super Bowl appearance and win. He was close to a couple more. Kind of got gypped out of a few, if we're being honest. I think that if you look at Drew Brees' legacy, though, you see a guy that, he was fun to watch. He made big plays, and it seemed like he always had an edge on the defense. But this last season, watching him play, that deep ball accuracy and that deep ball altogether was diminished. And especially in that last game, it was shown. He could complete the shorter routes. He could complete his slants. But when it came to making plays downfield, he couldn't do it. He could not do that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And ultimately, it's time for him to hang up the cleats. I mean, I think that he's had a great career, but I think that right now is the time for him to retire. And I think that we can look back on his career and say, man, Drew Brees was fun to watch. He's going to rank right up there with the best of them. And, we're talking about a guy that if a couple things go his way, he has 2 or 3 Super Bowls, maybe even more appearances. But anyways, it'll be sad to see him go. Number 9 certainly had a profound impact on the game, and I think a profound impact on us as the fans. We're actually going to move on from the NFL. We don't always get through all the topics because we all like to talk a lot, but we're going to go into the NBA. And we're actually going to do just our thoughts a little bit on Kobe Bryant. I believe a year ago today.
Yep. Was it
yesterday? A year ago yesterday was when the NBA world and the sports world found out the news that Kobe Bryant had passed away. I actually remember where I was when I found out. Brady was the one who told me. I had just gotten out of church. It was a Sunday, the day of the Pro Bowl. I remember Brady saying that Kobe Bryant had passed away, and I read the text. And I remember when Kobe Bryant was a player, I was not a Kobe Bryant fan. I have never been able to like the Lakers. I haven't. But I remember feeling just a profound, sadness and disappointment, and knowing that, someone that was so iconic, someone that contributed so much to the game of basketball that he was gone. You know, he was a living legend. And so when I think of Kobe Bryant, I just think of somebody that had that Mamba mentality, that killer instinct when it came to athletics that I've never seen before. And I don't know if we'll ever see again. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much just ditto everything that you said. Usually when people die, I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. That's sad. Like people that I don't know, that I don't know personally, that is. But with Kobe, no, I felt that. Like you, I wasn't a big fan of him while he was playing. I think mainly because I was a big Jazz fan, and if you're a Jazz fan, you can't like the Lakers or Kobe Bryant. But after Kobe's career, I became a big fan of his, and I loved everything that he did. And even watching like highlights, I was like, that was a bad man as far on the basketball floor. But yeah, super sad, and I think it's cool how much recognition he gets. You know, just scrolling through social media yesterday, it was all I was seeing was Kobe Bryant, and he definitely deserves all that.
This is Mike.
Well, at the time that Kobe died, I wasn't really, I'll say, around. I didn't really get to see a whole lot. I heard he died, but I didn't really know what happened or the celebrations and the tributes they were doing for Kobe. So when I was home and learned about it again, it was a big surprise. Like it was sad to see him die in that way. But I'll just, like you guys said, he was a good basketball player, a great basketball player, one of the best we've seen, and it was sad to see him go, but that's what happened. So I guess we can just honor him by remembering who he was.
Jason?
You know, I'm gonna be around the same lines as you guys. I've never been a huge Kobe Bryant fan. I grew up watching him kind of come to power, and that was hard as a Jazz fan to watch. You know what though is I wasn't a huge Michael Jordan fan when he retired either. Just I had to watch those games as a Jazz fan. It was hard. There is no respect lost though. You know, there's no respect lost. And, you know, there's a lot of ghosts that or skeletons in the closet, but I'm glad that nobody's focusing on the scandals that Kobe Bryant had in his life and just focusing on the career that he had, the greatness that he was, and you know, good for him. Still feel terrible for his family. Nobody deserves to go out like that. You know, R.I.P.
I think looking back on some of the tributes to Kobe Bryant, and you know, we saw what a great basketball player was, but it seemed like after he retired, he just continued to grow as a person. I mean, you would see him. He won an Oscar for a short film, Dear Basketball, I think it was called. And then you saw the kind of father that he was so involved in his daughter's lives and what they did athletically, and his relationship with his family grew. And to watch that occur and to watch that happen, it was really cool to see him develop as a person. And I was really intrigued when he retired to see what he would do. I remember watching Kobe Bryant interview after he played the Jazz actually in his last game, scored, was it 60 points?
58.
58?
I'm pretty sure.
I think he scored 60. He might have scored 60 or 61. And I remember he was speaking in multiple languages, in Spanish and Italian, and then
Chinese,
English. Yeah,
Mandarin.
incredibly intelligent person. I remember thinking, I'm really intrigued to see what he does beyond the game of basketball. And the short years that we had to watch him, it was an absolute pleasure to see what he was able to do. And then for, you know, that whole tragedy, not only losing Kobe Bryant, but his daughter, some of the other victims, the pilot, that was just such a tragic event. And obviously, I think it's important to remember Kobe Bryant on this day, but it's important to remember all the people that lost their lives in such a tragic event. Because while the world is mourning Kobe Bryant and Gianna like we should, it's also important to remember there are a lot of people that are celebrating a year without family members that weren't professional athletes, that were simply on the way to a youth basketball game. And so I think it's fitting that we honor Kobe Bryant today. And I think that it's important that we remember, you know, what he was able to do. And obviously, we're never going to forget him. We're actually going to move on to our last segment, and then we'll wrap things up with our C squared moment of the day. That'll be explained. We're going to talk a little bit of MMA, the Dustin Poirier Conor McGregor fight, and this was a fight that I was excited for. Mike, that was actually Mike's first UFC fight.
That was my first UFC fight. First time I've ever seen him.
After the fight, Prison Mike said that he wanted to start training for the heavyweight division.
Mr. Adesanya, I'm coming for you.
We're going to talk about Adesanya in this. He has an unorthodox stance. He's a southpaw. He really is a wrestler more than anything.
He'd take Izzy down.
He did grow up in Cokeville.
The other day we were talking about it. Mike's like, when I watch Cedric Adesanya fight, I just think, look at them skinny legs. I could break those legs with my teeth.
That's not true.
That's what he said.
That's a direct quote.
That's a direct quote. I was there. If we look at this fight, I think.
Sorry, just before we get into the fight, since this was my first UFC fight, I didn't have any real favorites or anything like that. But I'm gonna say my new favorite UFC fighter is Michael Chandler. That guy is.
Was it the backflip that did it for you?
No, it was how fast he knocked him out. Not knocked him out. What TKO'd him.
Dan Hooker's a great fighter too. That needs to be
a great
remembered.
fighter. Michael Chandler. It was pretty fun to watch. So he's my new favorite UFC fighter. Yeah.
So I just want to say, going into this fight, I was really excited. I mean, anytime Conor McGregor fights, it's going to be a huge sale. Dana White was basically saying this is on pace to be one of our top 3 pay-per-views ever.
It was number 2.
It was number 2 of all time. This is not a title fight, by the way. It could have been. A lot of people were saying it should have been because Khabib's retired. But after watching this fight, first of all, I don't think it is as much Conor McGregor not being an elite fighter. I think it's more of Dustin Poirier being at a level that he's never been in his career, training harder than he's ever been. And I was very impressed with this fight. First of all, going into it, I thought McGregor was going to win. That was my prediction.
I think everyone did.
Right before the fight, I was like to Brady, dude, Poirier is going to knock Conor McGregor out. And I didn't really mean it when I said it. I was just saying it like just in case. I told you, Brady, I told you.
You covered both your bases.
I covered both my bases. I didn't want to bet against the Notorious, man. But, yeah, that's it. But I think that, first of all, Dustin Poirier fought masterfully. And he went at McGregor with those leg kicks. And that's ultimately what it came down to. I don't think that it was a head trauma as much as it was just the fact that Conor McGregor came out of that match with he had a cane. Or he had a crutch. He had a crutch that he was using to help him walk. And after the fight, he instantly said, it's me calf. It's me calf. Because Poirier was hammering home with those leg kicks, which, first of all, as fight fans, a lot of people don't realize those are very significant. And he was able to get McGregor in a position where he couldn't move, and he was stationary against the fence, and he couldn't get out of it. And when that leg gave out, he had nothing left.
Can I just say the great thing about McGregor is I feel like when he dominates a fight and when he knocks someone out, it's like the coolest thing ever, and you're like, yeah. But then also when he gets knocked, it's like equally as cool, maybe even just because you're like, this cocky dude just got humbled.
I love McGregor.
I like McGregor too, but I feel like it's awesome to see him get knocked out, and it's awesome to see him knock out. So it's a win-win either way for me. I was honestly like, I don't care who wins. I just want to see one of them get either TKO'd or knocked out.
Something I think needs to be brought up is after the fight, when they were interviewing Dana White, they asked, have you talked to Conor? No. Have you talked to Poirier? No. Have you talked to Khabib? Yes. He talked to Khabib right after the fight, knowing, all right, I want to get Khabib out of retirement. I want a super fight. And I think Dana thought Conor was going to win, and he was going to be able to put together the super fight between Conor and Khabib. That was going to break all the industry record, probably one of the most viewed pay-per-view, combat sport fights of all time, right? And after Khabib said, be honest with yourself. I am so far above these guys. Which is true. I think at this point, I don't think you're going to see Khabib fight again. I can see why. He wants to really have a good fight, and let's be honest. He destroyed Poirier. He destroyed McGregor. He destroyed Gaethje. There's really no one that's at his level, and they're not even close.
I get that, but I feel like if you're Khabib, you're so close to 30-0, which I feel like 29-0 is awesome, but 30-0 is even that much more awesome. Like, you're going to win. Just go get to 30-0. but I guess I'm not him. But I'd like to see him get.
I- I want to see Chandler fight Poirier. I do. He's kind of a up and coming. I'd like to see what he's capable of, and I think Poirier. I mean, before we can get a B, but back, I think Poirier is going to be kind of the standard where we can measure everybody at right now.
Well, and a lot of people are talking about a May rematch between McGregor and Poirier because they're at 1-1, right? And it seems like there has to be a trilogy.
There's got to be a trilogy.
And a trilogy is going to bring in a lot of money. We'll see. What
Tiebreaker. Did you guys see the article that McGregor's been suspended medically for 6 months, though?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. You take shots like that. I think one thing about McGregor that people have to take into account is we're talking about a guy who honestly believes he's going to be a billionaire by the time he's 30 right now. So I think if you look at it, we're talking about a guy who's really comfortable with his life. I don't think he's as hungry as he used to be. And I don't want, this is probably never going to get back to him, but just in case, no disrespect to McGregor. But I think he's at a point in his career where he has really done everything that I think he set out to do. I mean, he was the most famous fighter in the world. He still is the most famous fighter in the world. So I think looking at what he's done, if he retires, he's going to live a really good life for the rest of his life. And he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. Might be hungry. This might light a fire in him. He wants a rematch. I guess we'll see. It's Conor McGregor's move at this point.
I feel like if there's going to be a rematch, though, Conor McGregor needs to fight some other people before he fights Dustin Poirier again. I think he's a little rusty, kind of how we saw. And a lot of people are wanting like a fight really soon between Poirier and McGregor. But I feel like if they do that right off the bat, as soon as McGregor can, he's going to lose again. So I think it'd be in his best interest if he could fight some other people who might not be quite as good and get himself back into that mentality in UFC fighting.
Maybe Michael Chandler.
I was just going to say that.
So maybe Dustin Poirier should maybe look for Dustin Poirier to fight someone else for a title fight and get the belt before they do Dustin Poirier.
Thing is Dana White just wants. I mean, Dana White obviously has the fighter's best interest in mind, but he also wants to make money, and he knows he'll make money off of it.
Yeah, but
Honestly, though, McGregor fighting anybody is a big fight. I mean, he's the meal ticket of the UFC right now. People are going to watch McGregor fight.
Dana White said in the press conference, though, that if Khabib decides to vacate the title, then those are the two guys that would get a shot. So we might earlier than we think.
In 6 months.
In 6 months.
for McGregor, he needs to wait, I think.
We'll see what happens.
I agree, Prison Mike. I don't think it's in McGregor's best interest to go right back into a fight with Poirier right now.
Yeah.
But I think if he's given a title shot in 6 months, I think he'll take it.
Then if he loses, he's never going to have that shot again. Like, no one's going to give him a
That's all.
I think the risk reward. I mean, the risk reward there is if he wins, granted, he'll have the title again. If he loses, people are going to start talking. Maybe McGregor needs to retire.
Yeah, like
Which
literally
happens in the
Poirier
UFC.
get the belt. Let Dustin Poirier get the belt, and then fight him in another year or two for the belt.
It's not just about letting him get the belt. I mean, there's so many.
You got to think there was a 6-year gap between these two fights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, don't wait 6 years, but I don't think it needs to happen, in more than a year.
Yeah, and I think we're at a point where Conor McGregor gets to decide his own fate. I mean, he's done so much for the UFC. I think Dana White's really going to put his best interest in mind and keep his best interest in mind. I'm really excited to see what happens. Guys, we are actually all out of time. We're going to jump into our last part of the day, the C-squared moment of the day. We'll basically just talk about something that makes us happy. It can be sports related. It can just be life related. I'll start us off. My C-squared moment of the day is that yesterday I received a package that my wife ordered with a beverage called Antarctica, which is a drink that comes from Brazil, from a berry called Guaraná. Absolutely amazing. And she bought it for me. I'm married, by the way. I got married over the break, so.
And yet that's not his C-squared moment of the day.
That's of the day, bro.
Oh, okay. See, I thought it was just of the break since we've done one before.
All right. we're going to go over to Brady. now.
Michelle, I love you.
My C-squared moment of the day. I've been thinking about this one. I think my C-squared moment of the day is just the fact that things have finally settled down here. Things have calmed down. Finally, kind of feel like I have things in my control, so that's super nice. And I've been stressed like the last 2 weeks, just school starting on everything, but things have finally seemed to calm down, and I'm happy now.
Mike,
I really need to prepare for these C-squared moments of the
Yeah,
day.
you do.
you live such a sad life.
I know, pretty much.
The
Yeah, I know,
C-squared
literally.
moment of the day is they gave me extra rec time out in the prison yard.
I'd say my C-squared moment of the day. Today I got some news. I got a job at the Pier Tutor Center. So
Yay! All right.
a little bit of paperwork to do, but
See,
for the most part,
He's
I
got to
have a
pass
job.
the back. Well, he's got to pass the background
Felons
check.
can get jobs, people.
That is not. I'm not a felon.
That's what you say.
So
That's
those
your
are my
parole
records.
officer.
But,
That's what you say.
but yeah, I guess that's my C-squared moment of the day.
Okay,
is a
that
job.
was actually a
Jason, let's hear it.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, what's your C-squared moment of the day?
Sorry, yeah, you broke out there for a second. Oh man, I'm kind of in the same boat as Mike right now. Kellen's cousin Darren made me this cool sign. I would show it to you, but it's over there. But he made me a really cool sign. It was thoughtful of him, and it was of an NFL team that I know he doesn't like, but he was thoughtful about it and gave it to me. So thanks, Darren. That was an awesome gift.
Good one. Thanks, Darren. You're the man.
nice job, Darren.
Okay, we're gonna finish things off. Big shout out to all of our fans. We will be back later. On Friday, we will do a show. We're gonna keep things improving. We're gonna keep. Wow, that was really good English, Colin. We're gonna keep improving with each show. We want to thank everybody who watched, and please like and subscribe, as well as share this with your friends. So thank you. We are the Sports Fans. Crimson Comet.
Lazy Snake.
Prison Mike.
The Bearded Wonder.
Remember.
KG.
Brother.
Got it. Thank you.